All right, hey everyone, Jeff here at stopthepirates.blogspot.com. Let's talk about check kiting here for a minute. It's not as prevalent as it used to be, but it's still an interesting concept. Check kiting is a term applied in a method of basically floating checks between various bank accounts in a never-ending cycle. And basically, here's how it works. So, uh, for instance, Tom, Dick, and Harry each had a checking account of with three different banks: Bank A, Bank B, and Bank C. So Tom writes a check for $3,500 from his account at Bank A to Dick. Dick then writes a check for $3,500 from his account to Bank B to Harry, and then Harry writes a check for $3,500 from his account to Bank C to Tom. Thus, finishing the circle. Together, they have written checks totaling 3 times $3,500 or $10,500. Yet between the three of them, there's less than $100 in all three of their checking accounts. So the question is, will any of the three checks bounce? And the answer is no, unless the banker figures out the scheme. If any of them withdraw the checks for cash, they can be charged with fraud, and just for writing them. And they can be charged with check kiting, which is a federal crime. You remember that movie with DiCaprio, where that's basically what he did. He would kite checks. But back in those days, there's 12 Federal Reserve banks, and he figured out if he wrote a check using the routing number for the San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank from New York, it would take like 2 weeks for it to clear, which is interesting. But so anyway, yeah, it's a federal crime. Some check counting schemes involve millions of dollars of bad checks floating between various accounts, which the depositors suddenly cash in before vanishing with their ill-gotten gains. Could it still be done? Yeah, why not? This guy E.F. Hutton, or the company E.F. Hutton, in the summer of 1985, E.F. Hutton gained national notoriety for floating up to $270 million worth of checks each day, and what up until now was the largest check counting scheme ever perpetrated in the country. E.F. Hutton never cashed the checks, but instead collected an estimated $25 million in interest each year on the checking accounts through which all the bad checks were floating. The Department of Justice, even after a thorough investigation, could find no one to indict. Incredible as it may seem, but true, believe it or not. So if a group of people sit down and play Monopoly games, and only one person, the banker, has the power to create money, there can be little doubt who will win the Monopoly game. And here's the strategy. The banker lends money to the people who want to stay in the game, and he gets mortgage and security liens against all of their property and real property. The interest he charges for the money he creates and lends out is all gray and virtually all profit with no overhead, which is a situation we find ourselves in today. So once everybody is in debt to him, he just cuts off their credit and calls in his loans, because the interest on the loan creates a debt greater than the supply of money to repay it. All the lender does to foreclose on everyone is to stop making new loans. When the existing loans are paid off, the money supply dries up, and prices of land, building, and commodities fall, then the lender forecloses. All this is done very smoothly as lenders deprive people of property under color of law. So taking the Monopoly game from the parlor into today's real life is simple. What is happening is merely a repeat of a script written a long time ago. We the people have been conned into a trap, tempted by the lure of money, and have signed our land and freedoms away with contracts that have made us perpetual economic debt slaves to the lenders, which is where we find ourselves today. Under our right to contract, we have signed notes entering ourselves voluntarily into debt dictatorship, although few, if any, of us realize the trap we're actually led into. But what's interesting to find out is when you find out who creates the money, it's actually you and I do, with our signature. So we enter into these situations, these contracts, voluntarily. And it's all fictional. It's all just entries in a ledger as assets and liabilities, or debits and credits. And when you understand that you and I are the fiduciary creditors on all these accounts, you'll understand where our redemption lies. And for more information on this, just go to stopthepirates.blogspot.com and check out the information we have there. Thank you.